What if everything you've been told about success and happiness is only part of the story? What if living well doesn't mean working harder, earning more, or keeping up appearances? In this chapter, we'll explore a different path, a way of life that values balance, purpose, and fulfillment over endless striving. You'll discover that a richer, more meaningful life is not only possible, it's within reach. Rethinking life's priorities. For most of us, life feels like a constant race. From the moment we wake up, the pressures of work, obligations, and expectations push us forward. Society has built a framework that equates success with busyness, wealth, and visible achievement. The implicit message is clear. The more you do, the more you earn, and the more you acquire, the better your life will be. Yet countless people chase this formula year after year, only to find that happiness remains elusive and the sense of fulfillment they seek feels just out of reach. The first step in discovering a better way to live is to challenge this underlying assumption. What if success is not about accumulation, but alignment? What if productivity alone does not equal purpose? What if, instead of asking how much we can achieve, we asked how deeply we can experience our lives? This shift in perspective is not merely philosophical, it's practical. It changes how we spend our time, how we make decisions, and how we define what matters most. Consider the patterns of daily life for many people. Long hours at the office, endless digital notifications, and the pressure to maintain appearances can dominate each day. Meals are often rushed, sleep is compromised, and moments of genuine connection are few. Even when wealth is present, stress can undermine health, relationships, and mental well-being. In other words, life becomes busy, but not necessarily better. The pursuit of conventional success often comes at the cost of the very qualities that make life meaningful: time, clarity, and the ability to savor simple joys. A better way to live requires intentionality. It begins with asking a few key questions. What truly matters to me? Where does my time bring the most value? Which activities enrich my mind, body, and spirit, and which merely drain them? By pausing to reflect on these questions, we create space to realign priorities. We begin to recognize that not every task, every purchase, or every obligation carries equal weight. Some are essential, others are distractions. The clarity to distinguish between the two is a gateway to freedom. Importantly, this approach is not about self-denial. It's not about giving up pleasures or comforts. Rather, it's about choosing wisely, investing in what genuinely enhances life and letting go of what doesn't. It's the difference between living reactively, responding to the demands of the world, and living proactively, shaping life according to your own values. This subtle but profound shift transforms daily routines from a series of chores into opportunities for purpose and satisfaction. Another key aspect is simplicity. When life is simplified, the noise diminishes. With fewer unnecessary commitments, more intentional choices, and clearer boundaries, the mind becomes freer, relationships deepen, and focus sharpens. Simplicity allows us to notice what often goes overlooked: the warmth of a morning light, a thoughtful conversation, the satisfaction of completing a meaningful task. These seemingly small experiences accumulate, creating a life that feels rich and expansive, even without extravagant wealth or constant activity. Finally, a better way to live emphasizes balance. It recognizes that a meaningful life is holistic, integrating work, rest, relationships, creativity, and personal growth. None of these elements alone can sustain fulfillment. It is their interplay that creates a sense of wholeness. By consciously balancing our energy and attention across these domains, we begin to live in a way that honors both our ambitions and our well-being. In essence, discovering a better way to live is about reclaiming choice. It is about seeing that life need not be a series of compromises imposed by external pressures. Instead, it can be a deliberate path shaped by priorities, values, and awareness. By taking this approach, we free ourselves from the endless chase of conventional success and open the door to a life that is not just longer or wealthier, but richer in meaning, connection, and joy. Letting go of the old script. Many of us live life according to a script written long before we had a chance to choose it. From childhood, societal expectations shape how we think about success, happiness, and purpose. School emphasizes grades, colleges emphasize prestige, and careers emphasize income. Everywhere, messages suggest that our worth is measured by achievement, possessions, and recognition. This script can be so deeply ingrained that we follow it automatically, rarely pausing to ask if it truly aligns with who we are or what we want. Letting go of this old script is not easy. It requires courage to question beliefs that have been reinforced for decades. It asks us to examine the narratives we live by. The story that more money equals more freedom, that busyness equals importance, that external validation equals self-worth. Once we recognize that these assumptions are not universal truths, but cultural constructs, we open the door to alternatives. Freedom begins when we stop unconsciously subscribing to someone else's definition of a meaningful life. One of the first steps is noticing the ways the old script shapes daily behavior. Do you spend hours on work tasks that bring little satisfaction, just to impress others? Do you accumulate possessions that don't enhance your life, simply because society tells you they signify success? Do you measure happiness by comparison, feeling inadequate when someone else seems to have it all? These are subtle, pervasive patterns, and awareness of them is the first stage of transformation. Letting go also involves resisting external pressures. Friends, family, colleagues, and media constantly reinforce the traditional markers of success. A promotion, a larger home, a new car, each is framed as progress. But in truth, progress is personal, not comparative. Choosing differently may feel uncomfortable at first. It may provoke doubt, judgment, or even resistance from others who remain invested in the old script. Yet each decision aligned with your own values strengthens autonomy and builds confidence in living intentionally. Another key element is redefining ambition. Society often equates ambition with climbing ladders or earning more. In a better way of living, ambition is measured differently. It's about cultivating well-being, pursuing meaningful work, and developing skills and relationships that matter. Ambition shifts from external validation to internal satisfaction. It's about aiming for depth rather than breadth, quality rather than quantity, and fulfillment rather than status. Financial choices also illustrate the power of rewriting the script. Many people spend decades working to afford lifestyles they do not truly enjoy, only to realize that their earnings are consumed by obligations, maintenance, and debt. Living differently does not require deprivation, it requires clarity. Prioritizing spending on what genuinely enhances life and saying no to the rest creates a sense of control, freedom, and satisfaction that money alone cannot buy. Letting go of the old script is also deeply liberating. Without the weight of societal expectations, decisions become easier and life feels lighter. Opportunities emerge that may have been hidden under years of unconscious compliance. Time becomes a resource to spend according to your own values rather than to keep pace with others. You begin to notice simple joys, cultivate meaningful connections, and find fulfillment in experiences rather than possessions. Ultimately, this process is about reclaiming choice and authenticity. It is a conscious departure from autopilot living and a step toward life designed by intention rather than habit. By recognizing the scripts we have inherited and letting go of the ones that do not serve us, we open the possibility for a better way to live. A life measured not by conventional success, but by balance, joy, and purpose. Section 2 is complete. Approximately 4,950 characters. Designing. Life. Intentionally. Living a better life begins with intention. Rather than drifting through days reacting to circumstances, this approach encourages conscious decisions about how we spend our time, energy, and attention. Designing life intentionally is not about rigid planning or perfection. It is about aligning actions with values and making choices that cultivate well-being, growth, and fulfillment. The first step is clarity. What matters most to you? What do you want to experience, contribute, or create in your life? Many people rush through life without taking the time to answer these questions, assuming that societal norms or external expectations will guide them. But without clarity, decisions are driven by default, habit, or pressure rather than purpose. By pausing to reflect on values, passions, and priorities, we set the foundation for a life that is deliberate and satisfying. Once clarity is established, intentional living requires making choices that reflect those values. This might involve re-evaluating how we spend our time, money, and attention. For example, someone who values relationships might prioritize family meals or quality time with friends over overtime at work. Someone who values creativity may allocate time for hobbies, learning new skills, or personal projects. Each choice reinforces alignment with what truly matters, reducing the sense of friction and dissatisfaction that comes from living unconsciously. Intentional living also calls for setting boundaries. In a culture of constant demands and digital noise, boundaries are essential to protect time, energy, and focus. Saying no to commitments, notifications, or obligations that do not support your goals is not selfish, it is an act of self-respect. Boundaries allow space for reflection, rest, and creativity, creating the conditions for a more fulfilling life. Without them, even good intentions are often undermined by exhaustion, distraction, and overwhelm. Another crucial aspect is integration. A well-designed life balances multiple dimensions: work, relationships, health, personal growth, and leisure. Intentionality ensures that no area dominates at the expense of others, fostering harmony rather than imbalance. It also promotes mindfulness, allowing us to engage fully with each activity and relationship, rather than multitasking or rushing through life. The quality of attention often matters more than the quantity of accomplishments. Designing life intentionally requires flexibility as well. Life is unpredictable, and rigid adherence to a plan can become a source of stress rather than empowerment. Intentional living is about setting a direction while remaining responsive to changing circumstances. It is the balance of structure and adaptability, planning and spontaneity. This balance enables growth and resilience while preserving core priorities. Finally, intention invites reflection. Regularly reviewing choices, habits, and outcomes allows us to fine-tune our approach. Reflection ensures that we remain aligned with values and can course-correct when life veers off track. It also cultivates gratitude, helping us recognize the richness of our experiences and reinforcing the meaningfulness of our actions. When life is designed intentionally, it transforms from a series of obligations into a coherent narrative, a story in which each decision contributes to purpose, joy, and fulfillment. This shift may feel subtle at first, but over time it accumulates into profound change. Intentional living is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. It is about moving from reaction to choice, from distraction to focus, and from survival to thriving. In essence, designing life intentionally is the practical manifestation of a better way to live. It turns abstract ideas about balance and fulfillment into actionable daily habits, allowing individuals to experience life as a deliberate, meaningful journey. By living with intention, we reclaim agency, craft purpose, and create a foundation for lasting well-being and satisfaction. Simplifying to amplify. One of the most powerful steps toward a better life is simplification. Many people believe that abundance comes from accumulation, more possessions, more income, more commitments. But in reality, complexity often erodes satisfaction. The more cluttered our lives, physically, mentally, and socially, the harder it becomes to focus on what truly matters. Simplifying, then, is not about giving up. It's about amplifying the aspects of life that bring genuine fulfillment. Simplifying begins with evaluating priorities. Not every task, obligation, or relationship carries equal weight. Some drain energy, create stress, or distract from long-term goals. Others contribute meaning, joy, and growth. By identifying what truly adds value and letting go of the rest, we free resources, time, energy, money, that can be redirected toward what matters most. This process often feels liberating. Every decision to remove unnecessary clutter is a declaration of intentionality. Physical space is often the first area to simplify. Cluttered homes, overflowing closets, and crowded workspaces create mental strain, even when we don't consciously notice it. Reducing possessions to those that are useful, beautiful, or meaningful lightens not just the environment, but the mind. Minimalism, when applied thoughtfully, doesn't mean deprivation. It means focus, clarity, and elegance. Every item kept serves a purpose or brings joy, and everything else is released, often to help others or to create a sense of openness. Time, too, benefits from simplification. Overcommitting leads to exhaustion and diminishes the quality of engagement. By consciously reducing the number of tasks, meetings, or social obligations, we create pockets of space for reflection, creativity, and rest. Free time is not wasted. It is the fertile ground in which personal growth and meaningful experiences flourish. Learning to say no becomes a tool of empowerment, not guilt. Financial simplification also transforms life. Many people overextend themselves to maintain lifestyles that are not truly fulfilling. Paying off unnecessary debt, spending only on what aligns with values, and prioritizing experiences over things can dramatically reduce stress while enhancing quality of life. Simplifying finances is not about austerity, it is about clarity, control, and freedom. Technology and information are additional areas where simplification matters. Digital overload, from constant notifications to endless news feeds, can fragment attention and reduce satisfaction. Choosing what to engage with, limiting time on screens, and curating sources of information helps preserve mental bandwidth for reflection, connection, and creativity. By simplifying the digital environment, we regain focus and reclaim presence in the real world. Relationships, too, benefit from simplification. Not every connection is equally nourishing. Some drain energy or perpetuate stress, while others bring support, joy, and growth. Simplifying social networks is not about cutting people off arbitrarily. It is about prioritizing relationships that align with values and contribute positively to life. This allows deeper engagement and more meaningful interactions, replacing quantity with quality. Finally, simplification fosters intentionality across all aspects of life. With less clutter, more focus, and clearer boundaries, decisions become easier, energy is better preserved, and life feels lighter. Paradoxically, letting go of excess amplifies presence, clarity, and joy. Simplification is not a loss. It is an invitation to experience life more fully, to concentrate on what truly matters, and to cultivate a sense of abundance that comes from depth, not accumulation. By simplifying deliberately, we create a foundation for a better way to live, a life of clarity, focus, and alignment. It is through this intentional paring down of possessions, obligations, and distractions that we discover the freedom to grow, connect, and thrive. The less we carry unnecessarily, the more space we have for what really enriches our days and our hearts. Cultivating meaningful connections. A better way to live is not solely about simplifying possessions or managing time. It is equally about cultivating meaningful connections. Humans are inherently social beings, and the quality of our relationships has a profound impact on happiness, resilience, and overall well-being. Yet in modern life, many connections are superficial, transactional, or fleeting, leaving people lonely even when surrounded by others. Intentional relationships, however, transform life from mere existence into a source of deep fulfillment. The first step in cultivating meaningful connections is presence. Being truly present with others, listening attentively, engaging fully, and responding with empathy creates bonds that transcend casual acquaintance. Small gestures like sharing a meal without distractions, asking thoughtful questions, or simply being available can strengthen relationships in ways that wealth, status, or activity cannot. Presence is a deliberate choice, one that communicates care and builds trust over time. Quality, not quantity, matters most. It is easy to assume that a large social circle is a sign of success or popularity, but deep connections often require focusing on a few key relationships. These are the bonds that provide support during challenges, share in celebrations, and contribute to personal growth. By investing energy into these meaningful connections, people often find a richer, more rewarding social life than that which comes from many superficial interactions. Intentionality also involves setting boundaries. Not all relationships are positive or sustainable. Some drain energy, perpetuate negativity, or create unnecessary stress. Recognizing when to limit contact, disengage, or step back is an act of self-care. It allows space for nurturing relationships that are supportive, reciprocal, and aligned with personal values. Boundaries do not signify rejection, but clarity and respect, for oneself and for others. Shared experiences strengthen bonds and create lasting memories. Activities like volunteering, collaborating on projects, or engaging in hobbies together cultivate connection and foster a sense of purpose. Experiences, unlike possessions, cannot be measured in material terms. They accumulate as stories, lessons, and emotional richness. They provide context to life, weaving together meaning, joy, and intimacy that persist long after the moment has passed. Communication is another pillar. Open, honest, and compassionate dialogue strengthens trust and understanding. Expressing appreciation, discussing challenges, and sharing goals fosters closeness and reduces misunderstandings. Communication is not merely verbal. It is also expressed through actions, attentiveness, and consistent care. These practices ensure that relationships grow in depth rather than stagnate or erode over time. Community engagement extends the impact of meaningful connections beyond the individual. When people participate in local groups, clubs, or volunteer efforts, they create networks of mutual support that benefit both themselves and others. Contributing to the well-being of a community reinforces purpose and belonging, demonstrating that a better way to live is intertwined with the lives of those around us. Technology can enhance relationships when used thoughtfully. Tools like video calls or messaging apps allow connection across distance, but they cannot replace presence, empathy, or shared experiences. The key is to use technology to support, rather than substitute, genuine human interaction. Intentional use ensures that digital tools enrich relationships rather than fragment attention or reduce engagement. Ultimately, cultivating meaningful connections is a conscious investment in life's richest resource, human interaction. It amplifies joy, provides comfort in times of struggle, and nurtures growth, learning, and love. By prioritizing relationships, we move closer to a better way of living, one defined not by accumulation of things, but by the depth of bonds, shared experiences, and the richness of our social and emotional lives. Living with purpose and joy. The final piece of a better way to live is purpose. Living intentionally, simplifying life, and cultivating meaningful connections all lead to one central truth. Life is most fulfilling when guided by purpose. Purpose is not a distant goal or a lofty ambition. It is the underlying intention behind everyday choices, the compass that informs how we spend time, energy, and attention. When purpose guides life, even ordinary actions become meaningful, and challenges transform into opportunities for growth. Purpose begins with self-awareness. Understanding personal values, passions, and strengths provides the foundation for intentional living. Without this awareness, it is easy to drift through life pursuing goals imposed by society or others' expectations. Purpose anchors choices in what genuinely matters, helping individuals navigate competing demands and avoid distractions that do not align with their vision for life. It turns decisions into acts of alignment rather than reaction. Joy, closely intertwined with purpose, is not a fleeting emotion dependent on circumstances. It is cultivated through engagement with life that resonates with values. Joy emerges when we apply skills, contribute to others, and savor experiences fully. When purpose and joy intersect, life gains coherence, and individuals experience satisfaction that persists even amid challenges. This alignment transforms daily routines from mundane tasks into sources of fulfillment. Intentionality, simplification, and connection all feed into purpose. By consciously choosing how to spend time and energy, simplifying distractions, and nurturing meaningful relationships, we create the conditions for a life that feels whole and rich. Each decision becomes an investment in long-term fulfillment rather than a reaction to external pressure. Purpose is therefore both the foundation and the outcome of living differently. It informs choices and is reinforced by them. Purpose also encourages resilience. Life inevitably presents obstacles, setbacks, and uncertainty. When actions are guided by a clear sense of meaning, challenges are less likely to produce despair. Instead, difficulties are reframed as opportunities to learn, adapt, and deepen understanding. Purpose provides a steady reference point that maintains direction and motivation, even in turbulent times, ensuring that life continues to feel coherent and worthwhile. Moreover, living with purpose fosters contribution. True fulfillment rarely exists in isolation. It often grows through impact on others. Whether through work, volunteerism, mentoring, or small acts of kindness, contributing to the well-being of others enhances meaning and strengthens connections. Purpose, in this sense, is both personal and relational. It enriches the self while simultaneously benefiting those around us. Practical application of purpose involves integrating it into everyday life. It may mean choosing work that aligns with values, even if it is less lucrative. It may mean dedicating time to relationships, creativity, or learning. It may involve stepping back from obligations that drain energy and saying yes to experiences that nourish the spirit. Purpose transforms ordinary decisions into expressions of intention, creating a life that feels coherent, authentic, and deeply satisfying. Finally, purpose is not static. It evolves as life unfolds, requiring periodic reflection and adjustment. By regularly examining values, goals, and experiences, we ensure alignment with evolving priorities and remain adaptable to new opportunities. This dynamic approach allows growth without losing sight of what matters most. Living with purpose and joy is the culmination of a better way to live. It integrates clarity, intentionality, simplicity, and meaningful connection into a coherent whole. When life is guided by purpose, each day becomes an opportunity to express values, deepen relationships, and cultivate fulfillment. It is the ultimate realization of intentional living, a life that is not merely survived, but actively, joyfully experienced. That wraps up. There's a better way to live. We've explored how intentional choices, simplicity, meaningful relationships, and purpose create a life that is rich, balanced, and fulfilling. But understanding what matters is only the beginning. In the next chapter, Keeping Score. The Wall Chart. We'll discover practical tools for tracking progress, holding ourselves accountable, and turning intentions into measurable, actionable results.